How's it everybody? And we're back with an amendment video to the Gravely build. So, came across an issue. I've been driving it around a little bit and I have 4 neutrals, which isn't good. In the last video you could actually see it. I caught a little bit of clutch slip, or what seemed like a slip, and it was okay for a little bit. Just like really heavy loads, things slipped. I honestly didn't think too much of it, but that rapidly deteriorated into 4 neutrals and a little bit of a clattery noise going on in the gearbox. Now, I felt like I should address this with a video. I did put the rest of the playlist up as a sort of instructional how-to, and I would hate to lead anyone down the wrong road. So what I'm thinking happened here is that my input gear that I made up, that keyway broke. Something along there broke. Because the actual sun gear was so close to the end of the shaft, I was only able to have about like 3/8 of an inch of functional keyway. So my guess is that let loose, and then we started getting a little bit of slip, and the dowel retainers, those held on a little bit longer, but pretty soon those slipped everything. That sounds like it's pretty consistent with what we got going on in here. If I grenaded the gearbox, it would sound a lot worse than just a little and if I roached the clutch, I wouldn't have made any sound at all. It would have just been no clutch, and it probably would have smelled like death. So that's my thinking. We're gonna take this thing apart, take the engine back off, and learn for sure. All right, everything's unbolted. Let's take this engine out, and fingers crossed that there's no broken gears coming out. Okay, that's a good sign. Okay, so there's our planetary. This seems to roll around just fine. And I'm going in here looking at the gears. I don't see any excessive sign of wear or anything that would otherwise indicate that, you know, we were running too much power through it, or our input gear was all kapakai, but it all looks fine. So that's good. This is the expensive side. And I didn't think this would be bad because this was made by Gravely. And all that other crap that's on the desk over there, that was made by me. So let's see how well all that held up. Well, just like I thought, there's our 4 neutrals. And again, like I thought, the keyway is obliterated in there. Man, you know, I'm gonna try to get a better view of this, but it looks like the keyway is barely in this thing. But this is what I was talking about. You can see that because of this gear, I was only able to cut a little bit of the way in here. Now, the astute among you might have noticed something else. There's our clutch retainer, just fell right out. This one doesn't look like it was welded in as well as the other ones, but this one looks loose too. Yup, there it is. Pop. Guess they didn't get great fusion here. If you see around here though, looks like our placement was right everywhere where this silicone went, but these are falling off. This is just my luck, right? Like, it's falling apart, but I wouldn't have noticed this until one of these little things dropped into my gearbox, were it not for a very cheap issue that had me screwing around in here in the first place. Let's see how well Brick's welding holds up. Safety first. Figures, that one's got great penetration. Sorry, Brick. I love you and everything you do for me. Did that just... Maybe try prying from the metal, not your JB Weld. Don't let me forget about that. I gotta at least glue that on or something. Okay. So after I pounded this sleeve on, this is how much was in the input gear, and this is how much was on the engine side. No bueno. So we're gonna have to fix that right up. But obviously, we've got a bunch of other stuff to fix up. This is good. I'm actually really glad we did this, and I'm really glad I filmed it because there's a lot of lessons to be learned here. And, you know, if your head is attached to your shoulders as opposed to your ass, you probably realize that all of these lessons are that I'm an idiot in one respect or the other. You know, for the shaft, be sure your keyway, which is supposed to lock these two together, actually locks the two things together. You know, whoops. Be sure this is actually locked, because this is how it was. And there is barely anything mating the two together. So next time I'm gonna be sure that's there. I might even glue it or something. Number 2, if your idea sounds stupid and looks stupid, there's a good chance it is. See the JB Weld. Okay, the JB Weld casing. Now to be fair, that actually did hold up. That didn't even break until I pried on it like a numbskull. But I'm glad it broke, because now I know that I at least need to do more of it. Because of this flange and how uneven it is, hands are kind of tied using the JB Weld to actually make a flat mating surface. But I'm just gonna put some more of it on there. That way we get more seal, more contact on the casing, and we won't end up with situations like this again. Lesson number 3. Again, the dotted line around the brake rotor sounded okay on paper, but the second I saw it going sideways in practice, we should have just cut it. We should have done something else, figured something else out. All right, that might have looked pretty ugly, but here we go. The keyway can go all the way in there. And let's see how well it goes in the sleeve. Beautiful. It might be a little bit sloppy, but I'll take slop over no engagement. That's what she said. So as it sits like this, we got ⅞ inch engagement on the engine shaft. Pick a card, any card. Is this your card? That's right, we got more JB Weld, and this is the good stuff. Real name brand JB Weld. Steel stick, specifically for metal crap, not the water weld I was using before. Anyway, with this stuff, one thing to note is that it says it sets in 5 minutes as opposed to the 20 minutes that the last one did. So we got to be sure we're ready to rumble. But since this one fell off, I'm going to go ahead and score all the casing where I'm going to add stuff so that we got a nice grippy surface. Okay, we're going to start with that upper one. JB Weld, you got to squish it until it is a uniform color. That other one already looked uniform, but this one definitely isn't. Okay, there we go. Got that flattened out with our oiled up ruler, and it looks pretty good. I think that'll hold up a lot better than that tiny little layer that we had before. So I'm going to keep going on all the other ones. See you on the flip side. No reason to stand around. We could do a little bit of engine work while we wait for the JB to set. We're going to take off this governor plate. If you remember from my video before, I broke this here tab off, but I have a spare motor with a spare governor plate. First thing we're going to want to do is mark, let's do right here. And then you just take it off with pretty much all 10 millimeters. There we go. And now it's just 10 millimeters all around. There we go. There's our governor plate. Let's go snag the spare one. All right, here's our spare governor. We got this thing. Should say governor plate. The actual governor is inside, but you need all this junk to work it too. We're just putting this on. The opposite, we took it off. But we do have a couple little things we got to do before it's all together. So there we go. Here's our new throttle plate. Here is the spring. Now this is the actual difficult part. Oops, dropped a spring. Like I said. So be sure you have a mark on this governor. And first we're going to put in the carburetor. And the linkage. Just dropping everything today, huh? There we go. There's the long spring on. And there's the short spring on. So it's a little funky here, but as I pull the throttle, this pulls here, and inside the engine there's a little lever here, and I'm pretty sure the governor will be poking out here. So our line is lined up right now, but we don't want to make things too easy on the governor because we were about like 400 RPM high. So let's take this. So it's been a couple of days. I went ahead and reordered a ring, something that I thought would fit in here just perfectly. This is 7.5 inches in diameter, and it doesn't. Well, they always say to measure once, cut twice. Maybe measure twice, order once. It's not 7.5, this clutch, like I thought. It was 7.25. I misread the line. We'll probably find that this is exactly 7.5, exactly what I ordered. And it is. Whoops! We'll just have to cut this down anyway. I'm pretty sure this will work better because when it's trying to expand, it'll be like a little spring clip and it'll hopefully stay in there a little nicer. Okay, we sanded this bad boy down. Let's get it in there. That's perfect. And I'm not even gonna weld anything in there because that won't fall out. So that's where it stays. So the best way to get the plate on is to start with the shaft. Now this time I went ahead and tightened down one half of it. So we got something clamping down on this keyway and it can't escape on us and not bite on one half or the other. So on it goes. There we go. We'll tighten this one down. All right, so we got that bad boy attached again. And it looks like it's on right. We got I will say that this way feels a little light. So I think I'm gonna go in there and tighten up that high gear clutch. And the other thing is this, both in neutral. It seems to spin, no problem, no resistance. So I'm gonna work on that stuff while I let the RTV dry. And then we fill it up, go for a test run. All right, so I got everything on here. Don't mind that splatter, that was always there. And while we were waiting for everything to set, I made a couple little process improvements. I switched the throttle around, so now pushing down gives you more throttle. The other way just seemed backwards to me. Got the gas tank on, and also if you remember from the previous video, this linkage used to contact up on our plate bar, and I cut that away, and it no longer does. It's been an hour and everything is set. It's time to stick the oil in. Now here's something that Diesel Dave mentioned. He watched my previous video and he said, hey, you know, you're putting like car oil in and that's got a whole bunch of like reduced friction stuff in it. So it is actually a good idea to probably just stick SAE 30 in it, or maybe he said ATV oil. I think that's a good idea because this is just a transmission now. It's not a motor attached to it or anything. I couldn't find any like ATV stuff that was 30 weight, so we got SAE 30 and then some Lucas stop slip, and I think that'll be exactly what we need. This from the back, it says top it off with 1030, so it's probably roughly 1030. Either way, it's going in the transmission. So there we go, there's our Lucas. It's making its way down into the transmission. I got a hole popped in the top and now the transmission is basically shotgunning all the oil into it. It is cold as balls out here. It's like 20 degrees. So it's making its way down there pretty slowly. I think I should like clarify a little bit for the stop slip. This thing, if you're familiar with a normal transmission, like a manual transmission, it doesn't really have like clutch packs like a automatic transmission does, or like gears and a synchro, well, like synchro mesh, like maybe a manual transmission does. It's more like its engaged gear is just a synchro. So it's like an angled band that presses into either a planetary or a planetary carrier. And that's actually what engages it. It doesn't actually have some sort of positive engagement. It's purely friction clutch. So I think this transmission stop slip will do a lot. Also, they don't really make these clutches anymore. They are all, they're all just used. You're gonna have to get stuff on eBay or go and dig for them yourself. So hopefully this will breathe a little bit of life into this transmission. The only slip I got on our last test run was on my side. It was on the motor. So I think we're actually doing pretty good, but every little bit counts. Here we are. We're outside. Let's give it a rip. Called it. That's a pretty good sign that actually, if I could turn it on and we could back up, that's a pretty good sign that I got all my gears. That's about as bad as it'll get. Maybe we'll try to go up here. Well, I think it's going to be hard to say until we get some real snow, but that looks like it works just fine to me. Stoked. Take it easy.